Hey guys, welcome to the Chloe D and Matt C Something Different podcast, where we talk about life and faith and how they intersect. Let's get into it. So Chloe, I grew up in a very nuclear family, and mom and dad had very traditional roles, and I was just curious, what do you think about that? Like, mom staying home, dad going to work. What do you think?
Well, I also had a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
And I definitely think that we have different roles in our
Okay.
households. Like as men and women, because we are built different.
Okay.
Well, we're not programmed the same. God didn't make us the same. But, I was a single mom for 11 years.
Okay, so how was your experience as a mom different than maybe your mom's experience as a mom?
I played both roles. So I was the working parent, but I was also the parent, or not the parent. I worked and I had to be a parent. Everybody has to do that. That's why I'm
You're
like,
good. You're
that's
good.
kind of sounds
This is
confusing.
a safe place.
Yeah, this is a safe place.
What do you think? What were some of the things in that season when you were just you being a parent and working and everything? What were some things that you weren't able to do but you wished you could have? That was different than your upbringing.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, this is a very big question. My mom, because of being able to be home, she was very present in grades
Okay.
with school,
Yeah.
with our school.
Like PTA stuff?
Yes. And she was way more involved than I am as a mom. Like, she did a lot more in the school. But overall, she was able to, she had the energy to be more present.
Okay. So it's kind of one of those things.
I think that's where it differs a little bit.
Energy is just a limited resource, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
it's just like time. Like you have so much of it to give, and then you're out.
Yeah. No, I feel like now that I'm married and
Yeah.
now that I'm not a single parent, my energy with Swayze is a lot more different. I care more. I'm able to be more attentive, where when I was just the provider, it was a little hard to be attentive because, and this may not be everybody's experience. This was my experience.
For sure.
And I personally struggled playing both roles. Not that I didn't have help, because I had help. But
Yeah, like you've talked about, like your mom and dad helped you out a lot.
absolutely. Yeah. But I know now that I get to come home and make dinner and
Yeah.
I want to, and
I was going to say, what's that like? Do you resent it, or is that something like you're like excited about it now?
Okay, I will say this. Yes, I can be resentful because I think that, like, just by nature, our jobs are just different.
Yeah.
Like, y'all worry about different things than we do. That's just how it is.
Okay.
Our brains are programmed different. I think men take on more of a financial stress.
I'm worried you're going to attack me here. I'm like stressing.
No, I'm not going to attack you. Not at all. Where I think women, we kind of worry about the household.
Okay.
We worry about food. We worry about, I wouldn't even say grades is a big one for me, but like school, getting you to school, picking you up from school, making sure you're doing everything you're supposed to do at school, making sure you're on time for practice for sports. I do overall, I'm going to be honest, I do feel like women do have, not that there's more roles, but they are different roles, and I do think that their roles are almost,
It can be daunting, yeah?
Yeah. But I do know that as a male, you know what I mean? I know that
there's different, it's different. Like, the responsibility, I feel a lot of the weight of the responsibility in my household, and I know this isn't the case for every household, and maybe not for many households, but I'm the breadwinner.
Yeah, yes.
And so like Crystal fixes the food, but I got to work so that we can buy it.
Yes.
And there's the stress and the worry and the weight of being a provider. And then like work stress and stuff like that. But I'm not, again, not comparing it.
Yeah.
Because you don't, like, if you start comparing it, I do think you start resenting the other because they're different.
Absolutely.
And so how do you work together with Tyler and making this thing called life work? Because I think God's intent was for there to be a mom and a dad.
I 1,000% agree
because
with
I think
that.
we're different.
Yeah.
But in that difference, I think we bring like two halves of a whole together.
I agree.
And so how do you and Tyler work that out and make that happen?
I feel like I'm still trying to figure that one out. I'm still learning here. But I do know that me as a single mom and me as a mom with a partner are two different.
Okay.
I'm a totally different mom.
Okay, so maybe this may be a little bit out of left field. So hopefully,
You're good. It's a safe place.
yeah. Okay. So how do folks help single moms?
Okay.
Is that a fair question?
Yeah.
Like as a guy who I have my own family, but I care about kids in my community. Some of those kids come from single parent households. How do I help them?
Yeah. And this is going to sound very harsh, but I don't think, because even all the physical help I had from my family
Yeah.
was not that it wasn't enough, but it wasn't. I think just support helps.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the same kind of support and help.
That's interesting because in theory, before you had Tyler, you had a lot of support.
Absolutely.
But you're saying that having Tyler is better.
It's dramatically different. It's not even, it's night and day different.
Okay. That's interesting.
But I do, and this is, I don't believe God made man and woman to work together.
Yeah.
And I don't believe we're supposed to, and I mean, like, I don't shame anybody for their circumstances, how they work out, but I wasn't supposed to be a single parent.
Yeah.
I don't feel like God, those aren't his intentions for it. I'm not trying to get preachy, but
So do you think it would be fair to say that God wanted what's good for us, even though sometimes that might seem like a restriction?
yeah,
Like saying that you should be married before you have kids.
you should be.
You should be, but that's a good, like God wants good for you, even though you may not see that in the moment.
Yeah. No, it's just different when you've got somebody. Like, even in my dating relationships, like, I was more, and I appreciate this from Tyler, like having Tyler, I have accountability. I have direct accountability where my family could not give me that same, you don't have somebody living with you.
Yeah.
You don't have somebody watching you day in and day out.
Okay.
My parents, like, yeah, they would watch me, but they didn't know all the ins and outs of what I was doing.
Okay.
For me personally, being married has brought so much accountability, and like, it's hard. It's hard to be accountable for things when you've spent so much time not.
What makes it difficult? Like,
What makes
being accountable difficult?
I think that accountability brings I don't know if you growth, change, better. And sometimes we don't want to look in the mirror.
Oh, that's interesting. Like the idea of I don't want to see my flaws, but someone else helps me
Yes.
see them.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't even know that I even thought I was flawed until I got, you know what I mean? Like, until I got married. I mean, that's just honest truth. Because
I think
also,
sometimes like we either think we're more awesome than we are, or we're more awful than we are. Like
Yeah.
like we
Yeah.
we rarely hit the mark on like perception of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know I've thought I was terrible, but I've also thought I was all that in a bag of Doritos. But
Yeah.
you know,
yeah, I got you.
and so I think Crystal has in some instances been like, no, you're good, like elevated
Yeah.
that part of me that was that felt insufficient.
Yeah.
But then there are times that she has also like held up the mirror and been like, now, it's time for some humble pie.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm glad that we have that. I'm very thankful for that.
I think you got to have love
Uh-huh.
to be able to have that. Like the idea of friendship is important, and love, because those relationships are so difficult if you don't have friendship and love. Because if I had somebody pointing out my flaws that didn't love me,
Yeah. That
it would,
it wouldn't go well.
I don't think it would end up being as beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
So
How do you
go ahead.
well, you've got more experience. You've got a few more years on me, a lot more years on me, but what do you feel like helps? With your roles, because our roles are not the same.
So I think good examples. I think examples are very important. Like when I was a little kid, we had to put a roof on our house. There had been a hailstorm or something like that, and we needed to put a roof on our house. My dad and mom were too cheap to hire somebody, which was a good learning experience. I was like 5 and my brother was 3. And we were roofing the house, and my mom was helping my dad on the weekends, like get it all set up. And my brother and I were on the roof. Like, who puts a 3-year-old on the roof? But we were up there, and we like hammered nails into a watermelon, or not really. I don't know what we did. But my mom helped my dad, and then my dad had to work during the week, and so she would go up there and try to do a little bit. And just working around my mom throughout my life, she kept saying the same thing over and over, which was, I may not be able to do as much as your dad, but what little bit I can do means he doesn't have to do it when he gets home.
For sure.
And that's always kind of stuck with me, the idea of, like, she wanted to help, even in her own little way. Like, whatever that was, if that was pulling nails out of the board, or if that's putting shingles onto a house, or if that's fixing the meal, or taking care of me and my brother, whatever it was, she wanted to help. I remember this instance, though, like on the weekend, my mom had been working really hard during the week trying to get the house roofed and stuff. And Dad, it's the weekend, and he's been working all week, but he wakes up early, and he doesn't wake up my mom, and he comes and he wakes me up, and I'm 5, so I'm probably not a whole lot of help, but I get this great example, and we roof a whole side of the house. And when Mom wakes up, she's just like, oh, she's just so excited. She slept in, and it was this great breakfast that we had. And I just think, I had a really good example of what that looks like. I think that's, for me, the most important thing that I can do is try to example to my kids, like, what is a dad or a husband? What's a man's role?
Yeah.
And my wife to example what's a woman's role, and not that those are the same, and not that it's even bad to say that. Like, it's not bad to say that.
It's great that we're different.
It is, and like, I think different men are different, and so the way that works in their marriage looks different than the way it looks in my marriage, and that's okay. Like, each couple works that out differently.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the beauty of it, is each family is this beautiful unit that God has placed together that's intended to work together. So what do you think the goal of a family is, because like my mind goes to like, what's the goal of something? What's the goal
Yeah.
of something? And so if we're this group, that's this team that's put together, you know, our goal is to get to the Super Bowl and win, or our, you know, if we're
Yeah.
this team that's put together, or we have a goal. And so what's the family's goal, do you think?
It is working together. It
Okay.
should be.
Yeah.
That should be your goal, is to work together. I think our personalities differ.
Sure.
And so sometimes those,
Like extrovert, introvert.
yeah, you know, you've got your different dynamic. Like you're saying, your dynamic is not the same in any family. And what works for me may not work for you, but it works for me.
Yeah.
And, but
So what's common that makes all of it work? Because I do think there's some common threads that do make families work.
God,
Absolutely.
like I do agree with you on your examples.
Yeah.
Like that memory you have of your dad is an example.
I'm sure you have memories of your
Well,
dad
yeah,
doing
but
something
I
similar
feel the
where it's
same
just
with,
like,
yeah, I feel the same with my parents. Like my mom didn't have a job, but she definitely
had a job,
worked.
but yeah.
She worked. And I don't feel like one of them was less than the other.
Yeah.
Like it was very much an equal partnership where they equally balanced each other. And I knew that because it was successful for my parents, I was like, well, it was so good that I wanted it too. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like it's an example that you're like, not that it was so good. I'm not saying
No,
they
no.
have the best marriage is hard. Marriage is not easy. It's so far from easy, but I just really respected how they did it.
yeah. I think that one of the goals of a family is to raise good humans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm not saying that every family does.
Yeah.
But I am saying that like in my family, service, like serving one another, was really important.
Yeah.
Words of affection
Yeah.
were important. Saying, my dad grew up in a family where they didn't say I love you very much.
Okay.
But when I grew up, my dad told me I love you all the time.
It's something he missed.
It was something that he missed that he wanted to add.
Yeah.
And then caring for each other, and I mean, we had to,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, taking care of each other. I know that on more than one occasion my dad wanted to rest, but his dad needed help. And so he would get up and he would go and help his dad with whatever he needed done, or go help my mom's dad.
Yeah.
Because when you're a part of a family, like, that was one thing that was impressed, was when you're part of a family, you're a part of a family.
For
like,
sure.
Like, you play a role in it, and kind of play your role.
You do. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think humility is a big part of it too. Not just service, but humility. Like, my dad never made my mom feel less than because her role was different. And my mom never held it over my dad's head that, yeah, she had more of the nurturing roles, you know, which were more taxing in certain ways.
Yeah.
But there was love and humility and God.
Which are all very big. Those are all very, very big things that you have to be successful together.
Yeah, I think that. So how does having a successful, or working in the work that you work in at the salon, how does working alongside Tyler, how does that help make your work at the salon better?
I think really for me, just not having to do it by myself just
Yes.
takes off such a big and like Tyler will never understand this. He will never understand it, but just having him just helps. And I say it all the time. Like, I resent Tyler sometimes? Absolutely. I do. Do I get frustrated? All the time. But like, he just will never understand how much I appreciate that he's there. Just because for doing it alone for such a long time. And I don't even think at that time I realized how hard it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you survive. You just survive. You make it work. I don't really ever, because of the support I had, I would always say I'm not a real single mom. Because I do know some single moms who don't have the same kind of support that I did. And those single moms, like, I got to hand it to them. Like, you go, girl. You know what I mean? Like, even single dads, because there's dads that are raising kids alone too.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard to do it. It's hard to do it alone. We're not supposed to do it alone. We're supposed to do it together. But it's so great when you've got somebody to do it with.
That's interesting that you would talk about, like, Tyler, and he doesn't even know how he's helping you, but he's taking a load off so that you can, at the salon, not have you stress. I'm sure you have stress, but it's like you have somebody to share that with.
Yeah. I think that for a lot of years, and it was probably trauma, but I just spent most of my time simply just surviving, and my way of doing that was working nonstop.
Yeah.
I just worked. And because I just worked, I was not present. I was not a present parent.
Okay.
We would get home at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think you're going to do on a school night when you get home at 9? You're going right to bed.
Yeah.
I'm not worried if you've got homework. I'm not worried about your grades because I just worked a 12-hour day.
Yeah.
You know, and now I get to pick up Swayze, and I have the energy to worry about what she also has going on. Yeah. You know, and because he is there, I don't have to worry about the financial part all on my own anymore. Okay. Not that we don't, I mean.
Yeah, I'm sure there's still stress.
Yeah, I was like, I still financially have responsibilities, but it's just different. Just not being alone is just different.
So, I have like two Bible verses in my head. There's one in the book of Ephesians that says, "Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ," and it's talking about husbands and wives and talking about people. So, like submitting to one another is like part of honoring God. But then I'm also thinking about, like, God created the different members of the body, the church, to form different functions and to respect one another. And I just, like, I don't know, I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about this idea of you know, I'll be honest, there was a point in my life where I had to clean toilets.
Okay.
And this sounds terrible. It's a safe place. I thought it was women's work.
Okay.
And I'm not trying, like, it was the stuff.
I'm not offended.
It was the stuff my mom did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like, I was vacuuming floors, I was cleaning toilets, I was taking people to doctor's appointments, and it was stuff we had to do to survive as a family. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, would I do it again? You bet. I would absolutely do it again. But it was tough. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if it's because I felt like I was working outside of my role.
Do you feel like, and I think this is generation, you know, some of those things are a little generational, because I know my granddad operated very much on that. Like
men's work and women's work, like, and I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like the way that
it's just
a generation thought.
Yeah. Do you feel like because, I mean, well, it's not even that. I think a lot of men, even women, Like, for instance, the yard. The yard is not my job. I take care of the inside of this house. That yard is yours.
Okay.
And I mean, even though, like, strong black independent woman, you know,
Thanks, Steve.
yeah, yes. Even though I feel that way, I had this dad that always took care of me in the role you're talking about. Like,
Okay.
he maintenanced my car, and he, even my mom, you know, he puts gas in her car. And there's things that my mom does not have to do because my dad does for him, vice versa. You know, there's things that Trixie doesn't have to do because Steve takes care of it for her. And it is give and take, and you both have your roles. Cleaning the toilet is not just a woman's role, but also taking care of the yard is not just a man's role either. It's something I'm capable of doing too.
Oh, goodness. I think that but I think there's some give and take there.
There is.
Like, taking out the trash is something that
I don't do.
Crystal doesn't do it either.
Yeah. Yeah.
And literally the trash will be full
Uh-huh.
and she'll take it up and she'll bag it
Okay.
and she'll take it outside the door and put it on the porch. And I'll come home and I'll be like, oh, I got to take out the trash.
Yeah.
And so I do. And I'm not mad.
So, but do you have any but for real though, do you have any feelings about that? Because
It's just always been like, no. Like, I don't want the girls to have to, like, especially if it's after dark. And it's
Okay,
not like,
okay.
I'm 5
Yeah.
foot, I'm average height for a woman. I'm 5'6". I don't know that I'll put up a great fight, but it's like, I feel like it's my role.
yeah. I
And I
agree.
guess it's maybe like protector, which is something that guys have a little bit more innately.
Yeah. Agreed.
But like, I mean, it's either me or Jeremiah, and I mean, Jeremiah's not at the house as much lately, and
Yeah.
so that means I'm taking the trash out more.
Yeah. You lost your trash helper.
I lost my trash guy.
But that is
I also feel differently when, like, Elizabeth, her car broke down and she needed a battery. Mm-hmm. And it was like I was getting ready to drive and go take care of it.
yeah.
If it had been Jeremiah,
You would have been like,
I would have
"Figure it
said,
out."
you know, like I would have helped him figure it out.
Yes.
But
You're not gonna
as a
jump.
guy in training,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, like, how are you going to learn?
Yeah. But it is true even like as far as parenting, you know, like you parent your boys different than you parent your girls. And your roles are different. You know, like, and I agree, like I'm harsher on Sway than I am the boys.
Yeah.
But I know with the boys, there's going to be expectations I have in certain areas.
Yeah.
And I do believe that I want the boys to provide for their
So a
people.
work ethic
Yes.
is something that you want
yeah,
them to have.
Yeah. Where, like, I think my mom taught me to take care of Tyler.
Okay.
You know, because my mom took care of my dad.
Okay. So
And my dad took care of us. But from my mother, I learned I'm a whole housewife. Like, I'll keep your house clean. You don't have to lift a finger in here. I will cook for you. I will clean for you. But I don't think that all women have moms that operate that way.
no, and not all. It doesn't have to work that way for every couple. It's just like because
What-
my family dynamic is similar.
Yeah.
Where Crystal does take care of us inside the house, and I mean, she takes care of a lot of people. So,
Yeah, yeah.
But she's got that natural nurturing ability. Like, that's something that's God given
Yes.
to her, and so, like, how do I help her use that? How do I help her? And I don't know how to say that right, but it's like, how do I enable her to be able to use the gift that she's been given in the best possible way, and then vice versa? How does she help me use the gift that I've been given? Through service or ministry in different areas. And so, like, how do we help one another as a team instead of, like, you got to do your 50% and I'll do my 50%?
Yeah. Because
Which
it's
I think
not like
it
it's
never
not like
works that
that.
way. I mean,
No.
if we're keeping tally marks, I'm losing.
Yeah, agreed. Me too.
And I think actually, if we keep tally marks, everybody's losing.
Yeah.
And so I think it works best when it's like I'll give my all, and Crystal gives her all, and it works out.
Yeah.
Like my all may not be that much that day, or her all may not be that much that day, but
Yeah.
it works out because we're a team, and
Yeah.
we have this goal of like helping one another, helping raise our kids so that they are good humans, and can achieve the things that like God's given them gifts with.
Yeah.
You know, because they're not the same as us either.
No. No. Support. You know.
And just the being able to be present with somebody
Yeah.
is so encouraging. Like truly.
Well, and I do agree, like, love, you know, like, if I see you trying, I want to try hard for you.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, but
Like when you see somebody like really like sacrifice. Mm-hmm. Because I think that the word love gets tossed around and we don't understand what that word means really.
Yeah.
But I understand the word sacrifice.
yeah.
And so like
Well, and it's an act of selflessness too.
I think so. I think that it's giving up my pride. Mm-hmm. Like I'm willing to humble myself for the betterment of my family.
Yeah.
In this, and I'm doing this to show that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
Well, and then your Bible verse,
Yeah.
you talked about being submissive.
It's it has such a negative connotation.
It does,
doesn't
and
it?
I don't know why, but I also wasn't raised in a family where I would feel like submission was not a negative in the way I was taught.
It's not intended to be, right?
No.
But
no.
the way that culture has taken it, because the way that we have seen it abused.
Yeah. Because I'm like, I do submit to Tyler.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's mutual. You know, you mutually, I think when you have that mutual respect for one another, you mutually, it's not a bad thing to be submissive. That's not a bad thing. It's like, I love you, and because I love you, I'm going to put aside my pride so that this can work for us, or whatever it is.
So, like, how does that look on the daily for you? Because, and I'll give you an example while you think. So that seems fair. So for me, the way that like, so Crystal, I'm practically very introverted, and there are a lot of things that I would rather not do.
Yeah.
But there are some things that Crystal really wants to do. And so I have to get outside of my comfort zone. And she can tell if I am, you know, like truly sacrificing or not.
Yeah.
But getting out of my comfort zone and helping her accomplish whatever that is. Or participate with her in those things so that she can, so that it, not just so that she can, but so that it blesses our family. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what about for y'all? Like on the practical, what is that submission, being humble look like in your marriage?
I have to check myself a lot. I feel like I'm wrong more than I'm right.
Okay.
I've got a mouth on me, and sometimes
you keep saying that.
Yeah. You don't know that?
Well,
well, it's okay. It's not that I have a mouth on me. It's that I'm not ever afraid to tell what I feel.
okay.
I will say this. I do struggle with it in my marriage.
Yeah.
I struggle, maybe not even struggling with telling you how I feel, more so trying to understand, okay, this is exactly what it is that's bothering me. And sometimes that comes out in an emotional way,
Okay.
which can be negative.
Yeah.
You know, because usually me, like I can get very hateful.
Okay.
Maybe a little passive aggressive, you know. But it's kind of like I'll let things build And then my way of exploding is just like telling you all the things you've been doing wrong without
okay.
giving you a fair shot.
Okay.
You know, it's built up over here. It's been festering for a while, and now we're going to just hash it out in front of everybody.
We need to have another talk about this.
We probably do.
We probably do. And like, I'm not good at remembering those things, but Crystal's really good at remembering them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I say, stop being historical.
Okay.
Because I feel like she's going back. She's getting like, you didn't do this, and you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, and I'm like, whoa, like,
yeah.
like easy, because the hard thing is like, real feelings come into play in a relationship, like in a real relationship.
For sure, absolutely.
Like you have real feelings.
Yeah.
And so, how do we take those real feelings and continue to work life out? Because marriage is hard, can be, and has hard moments for everybody. And I think one of the ways that we help one another is through being humble and through going, you got a different role than I have. And it's not going to be fair.
No. But how can we work together to where we're not angry with each other? Not angry, but how do you work
Not
together?
frustrated. Not
together?
frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, what's the goal? I think determining what's the goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what is our goal for today? Or maybe what's our goal for this year? What's our goal? And, like, how are we helping each other accomplish that? Like, what's your goal? What's my goal? How are we accomplishing that?
Yeah.
And I think, like, saying those things helps instead of just, like, it being nebulous, like, we're just trying to get through each day. Well, yeah, everybody's trying to get through each day, but, like, how can I help you accomplish
through.
what you want to accomplish? And I think seeing that, and when you see someone working hard, saying it, like, don't be stingy with the compliments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think that some guys are struggling, and they're doing the best they can, and they just don't.
For sure.
And I'm not just trying to defend guys, although I understand the guy's perspective only.
I do agree. I do agree with that.
And I think girls, I think that guys should praise their wives, and
in both ways.
Absolutely, like don't just let it go unsaid. Mm-hmm. Like, if you love somebody, say you love them. If they've done a good job, say good job.
Yeah.
If you appreciate it, say you appreciate it. Don't just let it be something that's just goes into the black void. And because we need to hear those reaffirming words.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Anyway. Well, it's a good talk.
Sounds good.